let's leave aside the big commercial films, the big Hollywood titles. They have enough resources to figure out what they want to do. But all these amazing films that are here in Cannes and Berlin and all the other local festivals, that are many of them are really great films, but it's very difficult for them to kind of rise up because of the buzz.
Show us your presentation, Uri, please, about the potential of NFT in film. We all know the craze of NFT, non-fungible tokens, and we want to listen more for our industry. Thank you.
Okay, whatever. So I've chosen a nice intro. This is a great work which is called Van Gogh, and basically the artist has tried to enliven the Van Gogh famous paintings into this nice digital art. So yeah, we're gonna talk quickly about the NFTs. We don't have a lot of time, so it's gonna be a little bit of a rabbit hole deep dive, but hopefully we're gonna come out alive on that side. So we're gonna first try very quickly squeeze what is happening with NFT in general. Maybe most of you have heard about it, maybe you didn't, maybe you've seen it. There's a lot to learn. I'm trying to give a very quick introduction and also to integrate all kind of examples through it so your mind can start thinking about it. So, and when you see these examples, you also see for how much it was sold or what is worth in the market to give you some idea about it. So basically, I'm assuming you know a little bit about this blockchain and a little bit about crypto economy. The thing about NFTs, non-fungible tokens, these are assets or files that live on the blockchain, and they are unique. So they're not fungible. That means that they cannot be interchanged. That means that unlike a currency, which every coin is the exact like the other coin, NFT, every item is unique, is not like the other. So this basically creates an infrastructure for a decentralized digital economy for items or for collectibles. And NFT, the funny thing, it's a little bit like SMS. You know how SMS was created? It wasn't an idea, oh, let's allow people to communicate. It was a protocol for technicians to basically send messages. And then it took its own, crazy path and became, a whole communication channel. So the same thing with NFTs. It was just created as a protocol. Okay, if you want to have images or media, let's just use this. And then it just took its own path and exploded into its own ecosystem. And what you see here is the latest from tomorrow, from last night chart of the most grossing NFT projects. And as you can see, if you look at the all time, this is actually growing. And what happens now is that going into the NFT world is really diving into this universe of endless shiny objects, this digital art, all of this 3D art, and different kind of audiovisual media. And it's a little bit like entering a casino with a lot of shiny booths. You have to kind of first figure out what's happening, but it's also wonderful to kind of get lost there. And that's what created a little bit of a gold rush, if you read the headlines, especially those crazy collections that have been sold, very rightfully, by the way. These artists have been creating them for quite a while. And that, of course, triggers a whole hype cycle and a lot of meta talk. So these are all the NFT clubs on Clubhouse, and that is just never stopping there. And basically everyone on the planet has an NFT project, an NFT idea, wants to do something with NFT. And if you go to crypto Twitter, it's amazing to see every day, like every day there's like a new thread of new things coming. So this is a clear sign of an emerging new experience, definitely on the rise in the hype cycle. But now we want to ask ourselves, okay, there's a lot of hype. Where is it really going? And we can definitely see that the boom of NFT 1 is kind of over. So this is a nice chart of basically the beginning of the year. And as you can see, there was this crazy peak around May, around the Beeple collection sale with unbelievable $176 million. And we're now around something like $25–30 million daily turnover. And it's, not going to explode soon, but it is in the making. So NFT 2 is in the making, but the one thing that we understand that whoever thought that they're going to buy something and then sell it at 100x, that's not going to happen, okay? So there's a lot of these examples. People put an auction with ridiculous number, 500 Ether, and the actual bidding is completely, not even in the scale. So that thing isn't happening, but that's good because there's been shitloads of crap happening, right? I mean, everybody's just throwing stuff. So NFT2 is what is going to happen in the horizon, and a couple of the things we're going to see there. First, allowing access to bigger audiences, right? It is still very much a game of whoever is in the crypto world, and tools like Rainbow and also other NFT marketplaces that you don't even have to hold any cryptocurrency, you just pay with US dollars and euros. These are emerging and basically allowing everybody to own NFT without ever holding crypto. I think the most interesting part is the programmable and interactive side of NFTs, and we're going to talk about it with relation to movies and film. So now it's the beginning. So you see, for example, works like this one when you have two states, daylight and night and day, and this is happening autonomously. So the artwork is changing according to the time. And hi, my name is, this is a very famous work on async art, and basically it's like a sequence of things. So you start with the first one, and then if you acquire the helmet, it unlocks something in the first image, and then you discover the character. So it's kind of this really nice sequential game. We're going to see tooling happening. That's a clear sign of an evolving trend. So first of all, tools on the creator side, all this kind of Bitsky and Nameless and Bondly. And of course, tools on the other side, on the collector side, platforms like Showtime and a few others, because yes, you've purchased NFTs, great for you. Now how are you going to show them? How are you going to share them? How it's going to travel? And all kind of new experiences. This is a project my friend is doing, basically trying to use NFTs to play very simple board games. And this doesn't exist today. So this is like a very early mock-up, just doing it, you know, on a physical way. But imagine you can play Leather and Snake and Ladders and Monopoly and all these very easy board games that it's very frictionless to do, in contrast to the metaverse, right? To dive in all to these virtual worlds, that's something that is difficult for most people. Or playing 15 minutes board game, that could be interesting. So what are the key use cases? Key use cases is where we see actual traction, actual retention, meaning people are coming back, repeating, and actual communities. This is what's essential to establish a model that can grow. So the most important one for our case is really the high-end art special collections, and what we're going to talk about today, CineRare, is within this category. You have this really amazing art happening, and I mean, there's no point of me showing you examples, and just, you know, go and dive to these platforms and check it out. There's still a little bit of confusion there, but it is emerging. There's also special documents. For example, the Snowden document, look at how much it was sold, 2024 Ether, okay? So you make this, you know, this is like in the above $3 million. And my friend Toby, who was the editor of a Motherboard in Vice, created this amazing CIA, the Gateway, basically found this CIA document about astral projection. CIA made a research, is that possible? And the definite page was missing. So he has this page and he made it an NFT. That's a very nice use case. The most popular and most money grossing are these generative collections, avatars. Maybe you heard about it, CryptoPunks, Bored Ape. I like very much this collection, Ghost, because it also has this integration. You can merge two ghosts and basically create a child. This is where the money happens, because people just buy these things and then they attach it to themselves. And you've seen before the chart that shows you like how much daily money is being grossed there. Music, huge domain, with basically async art, a leading platform now. Quincy Jones, that's what I said before. Everyone in Hollywood wants to do something in NFT. Quincy Jones created one-off. Let's see how that happens, if that takes off. But basically, you can create programmable things with music, and what they're doing in async art is really, really cool. Sports, probably heard about NBA Top Shot. Z-Run is a completely autonomous horse race which runs on NFT. So you buy a horse and then the horse competing with themselves, and then you win, and apparently people like to do it. And creators like Gary Vee, and this is the most grossing sector by far. Axie Infinity, Dark Forest, all this gaming. The whole gaming world is gonna move into NFTs. And naturally the question is, okay, what the film world is doing here? And that's the project I've been working on, CineRare, which also you can nicely said in French, CineRare. And the idea here is to think what would make sense as a model to really create a a marketplace that is driving a lot of value to the film world, especially the festival film, okay? Let's leave aside the big commercial films, the big Hollywood titles. They have enough resources to figure out what they want to do. But all these amazing films that are here in Cannes and Berlin and all the other local festivals that are, many of them are really great films, but it's very difficult for them to kind of rise up because of the buzz. But if you are able to give them a platform and you're able to create NFTs that are focusing on the characters, because around the IP and the narrative, you can take specific areas and create an interesting digital art about them in these formats that we've just seen. So you can focus on the characters. I didn't like Benedetta, I saw the film, but the character is interesting. Not just this character, the other characters. You can look at the places. So this is L'Olympiade, this film by Jacques Audiard, which unfortunately I'm gonna miss, happening in L'Olympiade in Paris. You do something with the place, with the location. You can take the moments. Whoever been into the premiere of Where is Anne Frank by Ari Fullman. Ari Fullman, when the standing ovation started, said, hey guys, more than 100 artists all over the world work on this film, please cheer up for them. So he gave all the credit to the artists that worked. There's amazing moments in this film that you can cherish and capture with an NFT. You can capture the essence, for example, in this film by Charlotte Gainsbourg and Jane Birkin and many other films in this festival. I just picked this one. We talked about documents. Imagine that you create concept art, storyboards from the making of the film. The sound designer or the music designer are creating some specific, unique music NFT. The costume designer are creating something, and they are compensated as the creators, as part of the creative crew that worked on the film. And whatever kind of actual artifacts from the film, for example, the French Dispatch comes as a great example. And of course, in a film like Gaspard Noé, you can include deleted scenes and all kind of these cool things. And I think there's an amazing opportunity to do stuff with programmable. So this is an example of the art piece is called Habitation, and you can see on the right side that you can change states, and that changed actually how this whole picture looks like, whatever is different art pieces and stuff like this. So again, this is just the beginning, but you can play with it. But for example, what if you take the entire collection of Semaine de la Critique and you create some sort of a nice integration concept of gamification concept? So if you collect more than 5 or more than 10, it unlocks something. And that's a great way to promote this very nice framework that is fighting as amazing stuff, but completely has to fight its way to get publicity in the traditional channel. So what it all comes to, aside from driving money, which is something for the long term, this is also, in my view, gonna help solve one of the biggest problems in the film world, and that's discoverability. If you listen to Sander's great session 2 days ago, talking about discoverability in any platform, one of the key advantages. But imagine that, I mean, if you have to discover films through IMDb or by watching the films, that requires a lot of time. But if you can just scroll through a collection, imagine seeing what we've just talked about here. You're going to see these films, maybe you want to explore it even more. Now you get exposed to the character, to the location. This is creating attachments. It's interesting, it's emotional. You're already establishing a connection to the film with very little time investment. In product management, it's called removing friction. That's how you're opening a marketplace or an area for bigger growth. You have to remove friction. And it also means that it will create a social capital that people will share, because everybody shares on Instagram and whatever, what they own, what they like, what they think is making them unique. And if they share their NFTs, and that's really coming to this world, and maybe they create some sort of interactions, more people discover about these films without the need to understand the whole film and watch the whole film and be invested in the world of film festivals, which most people aren't. And more importantly, I think it's a great way to expose the young generation, which is interested in quality stuff. They just need to have it accessible for them in how they like it. And I do believe that if you build it well, and that's a different discussion, how you build this marketplace, you can create a framework that empowers the stakeholders. First of all, the filmmakers and the other creators, the people who work on the film, because the way, when it works, you know, if you put something on the blockchain, you can create compensation that goes directly to everybody that's involved. So the creatives and the festivals and the audience through long-term value, which can even offline events. So for example, you purchase an NFT and that gives you also access to a screening or to a digital screening, because you all know that that's what's coming, right? And going to the EU, I believe there's a really interesting opportunity here for the EU to be the place that initiates it, using the great platform of diversity and inclusion that the EU is built around, and then take it globally. So building it with the existing amazing infrastructure that the EU has, first of all with all the countries and the festivals, and then taking it globally. But my little small opinion here is that you can't invest in multiple platforms. You need one platform. And that's it. This could be a cool thing. And, yeah.